Hey everybody. Alright, let's set the timer. Okay. Yeah. Alright. So, hey everybody. I have glasses now. Or glasses again. I haven't worn... The last pair I stopped wearing in 2011, and that was just a filter for scopic sensitivity syndrome. But this time I actually have some actual vision correction factor in these lenses. Yeah, funny story about how I got them. I can tell you while I'm playing. I also happen to have out from some filming stuff I've done recently. I've already done the filming for it. I had to actually scramble and get the stuff ready for today's stream all this morning because throughout the week in very small bursts I've been working on a YouTube video. And these were a couple of props in them. This is Thomas the Tank Engine Hot Wheels toy in which Thomas is a car and not a tank engine. So it's kind of missing the point of the franchise entirely. And this is a pack of Thomas the Tank Engine tissues. These are both things my mom sent me. Because I don't buy Thomas merch, but, you know, my dear mom lived far away from her. She misses me, so sometimes she sends me stuff that I wouldn't have bought by myself. I put it away, I'm like, someday it'll be useful for something. And finally I found something to use it for a video. So this is going to be an interesting stream. I'm going to try something new. First 2 hours we're going to play Panel de Pon, and then I'm going to do an Amazon watch party which will be integrated seamlessly with Twitch if you've never done one of these before. I did some test broadcasts last night to see what it would be like. It's a lot simpler than I thought it would be. We're going to be watching Bon Voyage, not Bon Voyage, that's a couple weeks from now, or a couple of streams from now. We're going to be watching Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. I have the Japanese poster up here just because I found it by accident looking for art to use, and the Japanese poster was so cute and unique that I decided to use it, and it went well with Panel de Pon also being in Japanese, the box art. But the movie's going to be in English. It should work though. It should work in North America. I know it'll work in the U.S. For Mecha Kong. If you're still here in 2 hours and want to do this, I'm not entirely sure if it'll work in Canada or not. For the US and Canada, at least sometimes when they buy the rights for stuff, it'll be for just North America in general. For Europe, I have absolutely no clue. They might have totally different licensing agreements because the availability of stuff for Amazon watch parties, like, it's based on my ability from being in the US, and then for other regions, it's sort of based on whatever. Ah, shucks, doggone. I'm sorry. You know. I know, like, last night in Kyle's stream, I just mentioned offhand, we'll get started with the game. I just mentioned, and we'll just start with the timer. I mentioned, you know, if Kyle, you ever done it, messed with any Amazon watch party stuff? This should be balanced good. This game is entirely in Japanese, so I'll have to mess around with it a bit and probably fumble my way through. We're not going to be able to enjoy the storyline or anything. So this is obviously different music here because in the Japanese, when they brought this to America, if you're not familiar with this game, what they did was they changed all these original characters into, they changed these all into motifs from Yoshi's Island. And so they used, you know, the theme music is based on all the music and characters based on Yoshi's Island. Excuse me. There we go. So let's go one player game. I'm guessing this is Marathon. I'm guessing this is Story. Let's go with Marathon. Let's start all normal stuff. Yep, there's Lip. The first reference to this game I knew of was from Smash Bros. Melee. There's a land called Lip's Stick. And I wasn't aware that Yoshi's... it's such a... Well, on one hand, it's cool that we got this version of the game in the US for the first time. But on the other hand, if Nintendo just called it Yoshi's Panel Panic or Yoshi's Puzzle Challenge, we'd be fine. But instead they decided to license the Tetris name and called it Tetris Attack, and one of the people who owns the Tetris name specifically said that he regrets giving Nintendo permission to license the Tetris name for this title. So there's no way Nintendo could renegotiate the files and to use the name again if they wanted to release the Yoshi version of the Super Nintendo game. So they just brought the Super Famicom game, which didn't have the Tetris branding in it. Alright, so... yeah, so first time playing this version of the game with the unique characters made for this IP. As far as I understand, there's a the version of this game for Game Boy Advance, which was in the North American release, was called Puzzle League and Dr. Mario, or Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. Hey, Kalaka Boy, I don't know. Okay, hold on, you gotta. This is a new layout, which I don't do new layouts all that often. I just want to adjust my chat a bit. If you did not get to see, I'm gonna switch back to my. Yeah, we're going to be doing an Amazon watch party of Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown after this. So I know if you're around for that, I know you're gonna enjoy that. I know. Well, that's what I was getting at. Last night I mentioned Kyle, and Kyle said he didn't want to alienate people from outside the U.S. if the movie wasn't available in their region on Amazon Prime. And in addition to that, there's the whole. He said that he didn't feel like he had enough viewers to really for her watch party to really be successful. And it's kind of interesting because I've done watch parties of public domain stuff that you could just put on Twitch and no one cares about. Oh yes, yeah, these glasses are new. Actually, when I got these glasses, I got the call from the Eyeglass Center at the very second I defeated Bowser during the last stream at the end of Paper Mario. So the second I beat the final boss, I got a call from the Eyeglass Center saying my glasses were ready, but I wouldn't be able to get there in time to pick them up that day, so I went and got them the next day. So, story of how I got these glasses. There's this store I shop at for groceries and stuff, and they just opened an eyeglass department, like an optical center, and they were basically begging people to come in and get a free eye exam. Normally it costs like $70, but because it was all like they were just starting, and they had to do like tech support stuff on all their equipment and make sure it worked. So they were giving away eye exams for free, so if something didn't work right, they wouldn't have to waste a paying customer's time. And just for the sake of, I guess, just doing them a favor, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it for the free eye exam, because I didn't have anything to do that day, so I just went in, and they were testing the equipment. Of course, things weren't working. They had to go on the tech support of one of the machines that they used, and then they had to test, like, the webcam and stuff, because the eye doctor isn't in the Eyeglass Center. The eye doctor was actually in a completely different state. And they conduct the exam remotely with a webcam, and the doctor could, like, access the eye testing equipment remotely, which is interesting. So they were testing all that kind of stuff. There was one point where a light wasn't working, so they had to shine light from their phone's flashlights into the device to substitute for the light, and they were able to get it to work that way. And so I just did this out of curiosity and just to help them test the equipment, because I know a lot of people, when they're just out shopping, they're not planning to take like a 40-minute eye exam out of nowhere. So it's like, hey, I don't have anything to do, let me just do this to help them out as a favor. And just to see what it was like, and it turns out I could have actually benefited from glasses, and I would have had no idea. Because I don't like strain to see things. I could read a printed page or just fine. But it turns out they actually could benefit from glasses. And I had no idea. And now that I would have went years without getting an eye exam. Meanwhile, now that I've taken it, it turns out I could benefit from glasses, and not wearing them looks like BS. And it's not like, it's only in comparison to wearing the glasses that my regular vision, whether reading or whatever, like, I can notice anything. But it's not that it looks bad when I wasn't wearing them, but now that I wear them, when I'm not wearing them, I could definitely tell the difference. Everything just looks like fuzzier and lamer. It's like watching in, I guess, 720p as compared to 1080p. So 720p, perfectly fine resolution for watching stuff, and if you're not a connoisseur. But now that I'm used to like 1080p, such as it were, now I definitely noticed the difference with the glasses off. And I paid extra to have like the filter put in so that looking at video screens is going to be less intense, which is almost something I'd wear the glasses for more so than the vision correction factor. And I really don't even, it's not like I can't see or have difficulty seeing, but I could definitely see, like, yeah, I could definitely read stuff easier from further away, just casually. So, I got the biggest, dorkiest looking glasses I could find there just because I wanted something durable. And they turned out to be Converse lenses. Like, they were, like, you know, Converse, the shoe company, they were Converse branded lenses. I thought if I got, like the generic, like, store brand glasses, these are actually sort of more generic looking than those. Because I was trying not to get showy, cool-looking glasses. And everyone... I, like, took a selfie, which I rarely do, and sent it to, like, some friends of mine who don't see my face often, usually interact via text on Discord or something. And they're like... And they didn't notice I was wearing the glasses. They're like, oh, they look so natural on you, I didn't even notice that you were wearing them, so... Yeah, so... I think the Game Boy Advance version of this, which was bundled with Puzzle League pretty late into the GBA's lifespan, I think it was 2005 or 6 this game came out. It's called Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. I believe that is the only version of Panel de Pon or Puzzle League or whatever you want to call it that has no theming in it, no characters. Like, there is this version with these original characters. And it's interesting because this game was made by Intelligent Systems, so it was made by the same company that made Paper Mario. I don't know if it works on mobile. I believe it. The only people I've had test it with me were watching on a laptop or desktop on browser, and you have to be logged into Amazon, and you have to be logged into Twitch on the same browser. I don't know if it will work via mobile on like tablet or on a smartphone. If there's a way to do it mobile, I'm not aware of it. Yeah, I think in my test, from what I heard, it has to be on PC. And when I did it on PC, it was actually seamless. And another thing to note, when I start, there are sites like Watch Together where you can sync up a YouTube video or a YouTube playlist with multiple people. And if anyone pauses, it'll pause for everyone else. Or if there are other things where, like, if the person running it pauses it, it pauses for everyone else. The way this works is I start the watch party, and then it starts on Amazon's end, and then once it starts, I can't pause it or anything. It just starts for everyone from the beginning. So if anyone can pause it, but it only pauses for them, and when they pause it, it will resync with the universal, like, file that's playing on Amazon's end. And it syncs up everyone watching it within 5 to 10 seconds. I've turned off low latency mode to accommodate for this, which is on my end. Because normally I have like a 20-second delay. I turned off low latency mode, which would make it make it a better experience so that what I'm commenting on it should be synced up with everyone. Even with I tested yesterday with low latency mode. Turned on with actually with like the 20-second delay turned on, and it still seemed to work good for everyone. Like, and when I did my testing, I was actually doing it with the first episode of Thomas the Tank Engine, like season 1 from 1984, and I was able to quote from memory to like sync up. I was able to test this way, which is cool because I know like the cadence of the delivery pretty much. I was able to quote line for line as the narrator, George Carlin, was saying it. Unfortunately, the Ringo Starr versions are not available, so when we do Thomas, which will be this next stream, I'm going to do Season 1, if not also Season 2, and I'm going to start all my Watch Party streams with at least an hour or two of gameplay, so even if anyone's not able to join in the Watch Party section of it, I could at least have some part of the stream be able to be enjoyed by everyone. I don't know if I'll do, like, gameplay during, because how this will work, when I go into the watch party mode, the layout you're seeing right now, you're gonna see, that whole window that you're seeing is gonna be up in the upper right-hand corner. So if I was doing that with, I'm piling up here. If I was doing that with, I have a special layout made for it. It's gonna, half the screen is gonna be the poster for the movie. Then the other half is just gonna be my webcam, and I'm gonna have a ticker on the bottom, and I'm gonna still have the chat up. But when it comes to the actual, most of the video is gonna be taken up by, like, the actual, the browser chat thing is gonna be on the lower right, and then my feed is gonna be above it, whatever's on my broadcast software, and then most of the video is gonna be taken up by the content that we're watching. Oh yeah, and you're now fully vaccinated, which is really awesome. I'm glad you were able to get vaccinated and get both doses of the vaccine. And I remember correctly, weren't you saying last week that your symptoms were relatively minimal, which is pretty cool. I heard that if you've actually contracted the virus in the past, like got the actual COVID-19 illness, that getting the vaccine, the side effects can be more intense, but still nowhere near like getting the actual virus. Yeah, for me, I just had what felt like chills and a fever, but I was taking my own temperature constantly, and I didn't. My temperature was actually normal. Oh, it wasn't a fever. And I just felt sleepy, and I just took a couple of naps throughout the day. So it was pretty cool, for me. Some people have a rougher time with it, but it's definitely better. From people in chat and that I've talked to out, just in real life, it's definitely a lot better than actually getting it. People I know have survived it. And then I've known people who had COVID-19 asymptomatically. So if they weren't aware, they could have been spreading it and not known it. So they're able to self-quarantine until they weren't contagious anymore. So after this, let's go in and start the story mode. Yeah, they're gonna have to figure out the long-term effectiveness of it, how long you'll need how long it'll be till people need the booster shot, and the timing of the booster shot might be different depending on whether you got the Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. Because Johnson & Johnson, you only need one dose, and then 2 weeks after that, you're considered fully vaccinated. But they might need the booster shot sooner than the other two. Or a booster shot, rather, sooner than the other two. So we'll have to figure out. Because we don't know the long-term effects of the vaccine, but we definitely know the short-term effects of actually getting the virus, so. Yeah, I piled up pretty high, but we're able to salvage it. Any version of this I play, like, I played Pokemon Puzzle Challenge on the Game Boy Color. Any version, and I play that on the 3DS Virtual Console, it's one of my sort of handheld comfort games. And I tend to just set it on the easiest setting and just let it gradually get more and more difficult. It's weird, I guess I'm not used to I'm so used to not being able to pause from playing versus pinball. Or not needing to pause in a game like Paper Mario. That actually just pausing to get water is funny. Now, it's interesting, in most puzzle games, especially ones like this, typically when you pause, it blanks out the screen, so you can't pause and then examine the screen and plan your next moves. But with this, I guess they weren't... Like, even Tetris on the Game Boy, it blanks out the pieces of the playfield when you pause to prevent cheating. But with this, I guess they're a little more trusting or not quite as cynical that players would do that. Because I paused legitimately just to grab a swig of water, but... Yeah, and, I guess I'm gonna have to mention this a few times, but... Let's see, I just want to check real quick. So I'm planning a stream on Sunday the 30th at noon, which will be Thomas, at least, we'll play Versus Pinball for maybe an hour, then do Thomas the Tank Engine Season 1, maybe Season 2 as well, depending on how long it takes or how I feel. Then on Thursday, it'll be Versus Pinball and Bon Voyage Charlie Brown, which I plan to incorporate with a lot of slides showing bloopers and commentary and stuff that I'll be operating manually, which will be fun. I don't have that ready. Next, what is it? So next Thursday, I plan to be my last scheduled stream for a while. I'm gonna go on hiatus, possibly for a month or more. I don't know. There's a lot going on in real life, and I'm not sure where I'll be streaming from. If it'll be where I'm living now, or if I'll be living somewhere else, and what kind of internet will be available where I end up moving to, or even if I do have good internet, what it'll take to I guess have everything set up so I could stream stably in terms of the connection, let alone, actually just setting up everything in terms of my furniture and getting my PC and monitors hooked up. So I'm just gonna go on hiatus for a while, and when I come back, I may well be where I'm at now, doing exactly as I am now. Does this game work like Yoshi and Dr. Mario? Yeah, it's just kind of just a puzzle game. And it's funny because they already had Yoshi, and they already had Dr. Mario, and they had Yoshi's Cookie. But for Tetris Attack, which was themed around Yoshi's Island, and Yoshi's Tetris Attack being a North American localization of this particular title, Panel de Pon, because I guess they figured Yoshi would work. If they want to have a cutesy motif, Yoshi and Yoshi's Island would work better than this, you know, little fairy girl's magical girl kind of theme, which was a good marketing choice. But the bad marketing choice was calling it Tetris Attack instead of just having the confidence of calling it Yoshi's Panel Panic or Yoshi Puzzle Challenge or something. And that's the reason, because they use the Tetris trademark. That's why we got this on the. I'm playing this via Switch Online using the Switch Pro Controller. And that's why we got this version instead of Tetris Attack, because Nintendo they aren't able to license the Tetris brand anymore for Tetris Attack. Because one of the people who own Tetris actually said they regret letting Nintendo use the Tetris name for Tetris Attack, because this game has nothing to do with Tetris. Oh yeah, I'll be around on Twitter. So in the meantime, for news, you can check me out on Twitter, on Tumblr, and I'll be, So I did want to do some watch party stuff, so I don't know how long it will or won't be, till I stream again. So I want to just do some Amazon watch party stuff, which I've been interested in doing since the beginning, because I think the watch party feature was already out even when I started streaming a year ago, but I was reluctant to, because I don't casually watch stuff. If it wasn't for doing watch parties, I would not have even subscribed to Amazon Prime Video, even at $10 a month or whatever it is. But even just I'm still in the trial period. Even that will work for the purposes of doing the synchronized video watching together on Twitter. And plus, I specifically wanted to, the new Thomas stuff that's coming out later this year is going to be on Netflix. So I don't know if, when that comes on, if they're going to take the old Thomas stuff off of Amazon Prime, or if Mattel is going to be stupid and try to limit visibility and availability of the classic Thomas stuff because they want all the visible Thomas stuff to be about the horrible new reboot that they're doing called Thomas All Engines Go, which is basically a version of Thomas the Tank Engine that has nothing to do with trains, which is the worst possible version of Thomas you can make. So I wanted to do a legal watch party of Thomas the Tank Engine in some form or another, using Amazon Prime Video watch parties while I had the chance to do so. And also, I don't know if the rights for, because right now today's video would have otherwise been A Boy Named Charlie Brown, the first Peanuts film. But because of the rights differences, like the different films fall under different licensing agreements, so the earliest Peanuts film I have that is on Amazon Prime Video is Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. And fortunately, and Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, I'm really interested in doing in-depth commentary for. But so that is currently available on Amazon Prime. But I knew I might come back during July. I don't know when or if. It'll probably be, hopefully, no more than a month or two. But it could be a lot longer, or we'll see. Because if I do move, I don't know what my schedule's going to be like at first, or, or what's going to be going on with that, so I'm just going to be playing it by ear. And the best thing, I theoretically could be streaming a lot longer until I do take the break, but also I would like to do my 100th stream. I would like it to be something special, and I don't want my 100th stream to be like something I'm doing as I'm like half packed up, or something I'm doing. I'd like to come back and be able to do a couple of streams to make sure everything's stable and everything before I do the 100th. Yeah, and I do have a big video coming up about Thomas the Tank Engine. I actually had to do all my prep for today's stream today. Normally I have it done like almost a week in advance, but Bon Voyage is your favorite Peanuts movie, so you have an excuse to rewatch it again. And if you're able to watch a synchronized version of it, I do want to... yeah, if you get your own copy of it digitally or through some other means, maybe you could try to sync up your copy with the watch party when we do that. Or, yeah, I'm going to try to... It's because of the weird way that party works, every once in a while, I'm going to mention exactly what's on screen, or try to... Because I know so much from memory, I'll try to quote an exact time with my timing. Like, what they're saying on screen, so you can try to sync up your copy with mine. So maybe you could watch the playback with your copy. So you can just watch like my VOD on YouTube with I'll sync it up with your copy. And because they are for a long time, you know, they are terrible. I don't know if the version on Amazon Prime Video is. I know like a few years ago. What is this? What is this? Is it just... What is... How do I continue? This is weird. Yeah, what I would do is if it was like YouTube, if the Amazon Prime Video interface worked like YouTube, what I'd do is I'd take a screen capture not of the video, but of the timestamp of the video, so that you could sync up the timestamp with mine or anyone watching. But it doesn't work like that. It has the kind of thing where the interface is overlaid on the content, and because Bon Voyage Charlie Brown is 4:3, or at least it should be, hopefully, because they're widescreen versions of the DVD that they released about a decade ago, that they cropped the film from 4:3 into 16:9 to make a widescreen version, in which a whole bunch of the video is cropped out, which is completely losing the point of widescreen. Because the original theatrical releases were filmed like in 4:3. You know what? I feel like I have to restart. It's like nothing's going. It's just like, it's weird. It's like, yeah, I guess we'll reset the game. Yeah, it like stopped as though like I beat a game and it just like ends on the title screen and freezes there, and you have to reset the console. So unfortunately, we lost our high score, so we'll try again. You know what? I have a videotape of what might have been one of the last times they played that film on network television. I like Race for Your Life. I know of because in the scene, from the scene where Snoopy is rolling in a tire down a railroad trestle at night. From that point on, I have it recorded, but it's recorded from there. So from when I was like 3 years old to about 6, I only saw like the second half of the film, and with commercials and everything, because it was recorded off TV. Sadly, in about 98 or 99, my parents recorded over that tape with a tennis match or something like that they never watched again. So I lost that tape. It got recorded over. So like, I mean, only from between 4 to being 6 is like just a couple years, but when you're actually 4 and actually 6, that's like a lifetime like later. So I remember watching the second half of the movie and not understanding a bunch of things, and then like a couple years later, actually like renting the tape from the video store and being able to see the first half of the film and actually understanding a lot more of the plot and what was going on and why it was going on. So that was interesting. So we'll be watching Bon Voyage Charlie Brown. Clacker Boy, I don't know if you have access to or will be able to get to a PC or like a Windows PC, a Windows, Mac, or Linux computer to. Yeah, I remember well, I mean, we'll see it, like the opening sequence where they're a few years I have copies before it was available digitally legitimately. Yeah, like when you color a black and white movie, like it's a little different with games. Like I never played Link's Awakening DX. Like I was so annoyed that they never offered a choice to be able to play the black and white version of Link's Awakening on the 3DS Virtual Console. You have to get the DX version because that's technically the superior version. But the thing is because I played it in black and white, so my memories are the black and white version. But with like a game, with a Game Boy game, you can colorize it and it's in color, and that's just it is. But with a movie, especially a very well-made black and white movie, like the blocking, the framing, the use of light and shadow was specifically conceived with like monochrome film in mind. So colorizing it can completely destroy different artistic elements that the creators are trying to convey. Like, for example, just as an extreme example, if you take something like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where a lot of the shadows are painted onto the set for dramatic effect or for artistic effect. So colorizing a film like that basically destroys it. I mean, that's an extreme example because a lot of films don't literally paint shadows onto the scenery. But, you know, just as a really easy to use example, I mean, I feel pretentious even just uttering the phrase the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It's not like I'm a film connoisseur or art, you know, or film historian. I've actually, my first exposure I knew of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and its historical context in terms of like it being mentioned in like textbooks and history books. But when I first saw it was in Pete Dorr's stream about, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago. I guess it was October 2018, I think I saw it on his stream. Because he did a watch party of it, because it's public domain now. You have a PC here? Alright, cool. Yeah, so if you're logged into the same browser with both Amazon and Twitch, you should be good. For the watch party. Now, I am... and one cool thing I did, because, like, really, Bon Voyage Charlie Brown actually was my first exposure to the idea of international travel. It was my first exposure to British Rail, and particularly, it's kind of a time capsule of travel in Europe in the mid-1980s. Yeah, I agree. And with games in particular, it's interesting because, I mean, I think the argument for remakes to adapt to the current technology could probably be made more convincing with video game technology than with film. But yeah, I do agree in general. Race for Your Life Charlie Brown is such a time capsule of 80s European travel, and in particular, you see them use British Rail in the late 1980s. So you see like the kind of trains that were in commercial use in the 80s, and like you see like the British Rail, like the blue colors, the blue and yellow color scheme. Like blue with yellow warning panels, and the British Rail logo from that time period. So it's very interesting seeing that thing. They use like the Dover hovercraft to go between Dover and France. So it's my first exposure to a lot of those things, and you know, they take a flight from what's presumably JFK Airport to London Heathrow. I went from JFK to London, only I went to Gatwick instead of London Heathrow. Which is kind of like more like outside the London metropolitan area, but within very short commuting distance. Like, it was weird. I had to find a flight to go to Gatwick, because Gatwick Airport was like a 10-minute car ride from where I wanted to go in England, whereas London Heathrow would have been a significant like taxi or bus ride or even a train ride. So it was kind of weird. I wanted to go to the place where most normal tourists want to be as close to central London as possible, whereas I wanted to be outside of London. So it's kind of interesting, like, having to find a flight that matched my needs, because all the typical travel agents, they buy flights that are trying to get tourists into central London, whereas I wanted to go someplace that normal American tourists don't even know exists or even care about. So I went to a travel agency. They basically weren't able to help me. I had to book my own stuff because I wanted to do a bunch of stuff normal tourists don't do. What else can I think about? Yeah, so I want to do, I guess at some point do a standalone YouTube watch video of it, watch party. Oh, but that's what I was getting at. I basically made a bunch of Tumblr posts commentating the movie of Bon Voyage Charlie Brown, where I made, took screenshots and circled bloopers like animation errors or gave my commentary. And I knew like the takeoff time of my flight to England. And I kind of did it as a surprise. I didn't announce in advance that I was going to England. I synced up a bunch of like posts on Tumblr that forwarded to Twitter saying, hey guys, I'm on a flight to England, I'm going to the Bluebell Railway. And I did a kind of live commentary where it's like, okay, at midnight Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be on the flight to England, and at noon Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be watching Bon Voyage Charlie Brown on my tablet on the plane. And then I synced up like my Tumblr posts to be about like, oh, this part, and here's how I feel about this part, and here's some of the screenshots and commentary on these parts of the movie. So it would be synced up with my time, like when I'm watching it on the plane, which was pretty cool, fun to do. Unfortunately, the second half of the post didn't like sync properly. So I ended up having to post those manually once I got back from England. But I'm going to take a lot of those and make slides that are going to appear on screen as you see, because I can't show the actual movie on my broadcast. Like, the video from, like, from Amazon Prime is going to take up most of the video, but it's not going to be on the VOD when you watch it, because then I'll get in copyright trouble. But I can do slides and commentary. I'm gonna doing voice commentary like this, but I'm gonna have slides like highlighting different parts to look out for, and I'm guessing I'm gonna do it as like a PowerPoint type thing, and have it be a window capture in OBS, and then I'll just move through the slides during those relevant parts of the movie. And I only decided to do this like basically yesterday, so I don't have the slides ready for that, but I'm gonna have it ready for when I do. I would have had it probably ready a little sooner, but I'm editing together a video. It's going to be about a half-hour video about the new the Thomas reboot that they're doing in October, and I'm just doing a commentary video on it, and that'll be up on YouTube. Maybe we'll watch it on. They're very brief, like seconds-long clips from Thomas the Tank Engine, but it falls very firmly under fair use, like by Twitch or YouTube standards, so it shouldn't be a problem. Because I know there are people who will, like, post, like, entire episodes of stuff to YouTube, be like, oh, fair use, no copyright intended, and, like, that's not how fair use or copyright works. But, like, the stuff, like, when I have a couple of seconds of something, or show something to show, like, okay, here's this, and here's very clearly, like, for example, I show, like, in the first seconds of the first episode of Thomas the Tank Engine, they talk about and show that Thomas has 6 wheels. But then on one of the new Mattel toys, Thomas only has 4 wheels because they're lazy, they basically use the assembly line intended for for cars that have 4 wheels and use them to make Thomas trains, toy trains. And so because of things like that, when I point those out and use screenshots and like seconds long clips, like it shouldn't be a problem. All right, so I'll be able to show them the video I do on Twitch. Because, like, literally 95 or 98 to 99% of the video is just me talking in front of a camera. And maybe using, like, a picture of a character to demonstrate something. Alright. But for today, we're gonna watch Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. Unfortunately, the first 2 Peanuts movies, which are A Boy Named Charlie Brown, which I think was 66, and Snoopy Come Home, which I think was 1970. And then, 72? Yeah, Snoopy Come Home was 1972. And yes, I'm thinking this up from memory. And then Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown was 1977. And they did so there was a kind of a 5-year cooling off period between Snoopy Come Home and Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. And it's kind of interesting because Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown is the first of the Peanuts movies, because that is set completely outside of Charlie Brown's own suburban neighborhood. Like, yeah, there is a sequence where Charlie Brown and A Boy Named Charlie Brown does go to New York City, but the main setting is in Charlie Brown's neighborhood. And then in Snoopy Come Home, most of the movie is set in Charlie Brown's neighborhood, but it also follows Snoopy going on a day or two's walk away to visit Lila in the hospital, which seems to be like the next town over, but for Snoopy's on foot, or he tries to take a train, but he gets kicked off the train because he's a dog, so I guess it's a couple of days walk through the woods. But they still use or reference the Charlie Brown's neighborhood as a major setting. So I guess as the movies went on, they had to keep escalating the scale of these movies. So Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown takes place in a summer camp setting, which is a setting that appears like a few times in the Peanuts films. Yeah, it appears a few times in the Peanuts. I mean, not in the Peanuts films, in the Peanuts comics. But the summer camp setting is the entire basis for Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, and it really kind of turns it more into an adventure film. And then they have to escalate it even further. Therefore, in the 4th Peanuts movie, Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, which was my favorite of the 4, But the one I've seen the least, because that's not one I ever had on video in any form, like a A Boy Named Charlie Brown and Snoopy Come Home, I had in their entirety, or at least in the televised cuts of them, because they did cut scenes. Oh, excuse me, I did not mean to do that. They do cut scenes from them, specifically so that, just so it could fit in the time block allotted. But I had access to those. I could watch those on video, because those were recorded in Thanksgiving '93, which was actually pretty late into my childhood, because that's right before we moved away from my grandmother's house in New York City. But throughout most of my childhood, I had access to watch those two movies whenever I wanted. But even back in, when we were still living in Queens, whenever I wanted to watch Bon Voyage Charlie Brown, we had to rent it from the video store. And then Race for Your Life Charlie Brown, I had on video. I only had the second half of it, though. Yeah, that's another thing. I know, for all the new Peanut stuff, for all the new made Peanut stuff, those are all exclusive to Apple Video. Those are all exclusive to Apple's video service. But for the older stuff, at least for the United States rights for Bon Voyage Charlie Brown and for Race for Your Life Charlie Brown are still available, included with Amazon Video. So I wanted to go ahead and do watch parties for those while they are still available on Amazon Prime Video, at least in the United States. But it doesn't help you because you're gonna be away anyway by that point in the stream, and in addition to that, they're not available in Canada, unfortunately. So, but at least Kalakaboy is gonna be able to see it because it seems like he's gonna be around. He says he has a PC. Oh my gosh. So I think this is still the second game we've played so far, the second round. How about on the hour? Yeah, in 20 minutes, an hour into the broadcast, I'm going to switch over from this to the story mode. I mean, we're not going to be able to tell much of what's going on, but it's a bit more of a concrete goal, I guess. More of a concrete gameplay where I'm just flipping blocks indefinitely, just seeing how far I can get. And I'm interested, when I do eventually game over in this, I'm interested to see if the game does just sort of freeze. Because last time, it seemed like the game froze or ended. It said, like, copyright Nintendo, like, I beat the game, and I actually had to restart. Apparently, had to restart. Well, I definitely restarted the emulator, and the emulator. Why did I say it that way? It's interesting. I mean, it's technically correct, it's just not how people structure the word in their mouth. Yeah, I restarted the emulator on the Switch Online Super Nintendo app. And there we go. Yeah, I know, like, the Astronaut Snoopy movie and other stuff, that the more recent Peanut stuff is exclusive to Apple Video. But for at least the older stuff, Amazon still is holding rights to it. I don't know, on Sunday I'm doing Thomas the Tank Engine Season 1, possibly Season 2 as well. And and I'm with an hour of Versus Pinball at the beginning. I know that's gonna have even more limited appeal. It's gonna have even more limited appeal than, the Peanuts movies. If I was doing something modern or current, it'd probably be a little more, have more appeal. But yeah, it's all gonna be... I mean, the Charlie Brown movies are kids' movies, but Thomas the Tank Engine is gonna have even more limited appeal. But, like, the era of Thomas the Tank Engine that I'll be watching is back when Thomas the Tank Engine was a kid's show, whereas modern Thomas, like, after Season 5, Thomas went from being a kid's show to being a toddler's show. And they made it much, like, slower and sleepier and with less complex plots. They really just, yeah, like I said, they turned it from being a show for children to being a show for toddlers. Like, when I was watching Thomas growing up, like, I remember watching Thomas in, like, third and even into 4th grade, and being able to talk about it with my classmates and not getting, like, demolished, you know, for still liking Thomas. Whereas nowadays, it is like by kindergarten and first grade, you're really getting too old for the way they write current Thomas in terms of being part of the target market for it, which is kind of a shame. They just want to dumb it down more and more and make it about trains less and less. And now they're afraid to even include the original characters aside from Thomas. And it's like, okay, you're ashamed of the source material. You're ashamed of the subject matter, which is trains and steam engines. You're ashamed of the original characters that launched the franchise back in the 1940s and made it something. I mean, when Thomas started, the original books, it was still the steam age. There wasn't nothing unique or special or novel about steam trains, but because the characters and the stories and the subject matter were so appealing, they were able to take that and make something in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that was still appealing to kids even who didn't grow up with steam engines or didn't grow up with the original books. And they've robbed themselves of all those advantages and all those forms of appeal and just made something that kids these days don't like and aren't buying the toys of. And they keep panicking and making all these silly reboots trying to modernize it for today's kids while having nothing to do with what made the franchise a hit in the first place, which is only going to get worse with the new version of Thomas. And, I mean, I walked away from I stopped watching Thomas in terms of watching the new material they were putting out. I walked away from Thomas during Season 5 back in 2000. So, for 21 years, I've accepted that, hey, this isn't what I grew up with and moved on. So, it's not just that it's different. That's not the reason I don't like Modern Thomas the Tank Engine. Because I've been, for years, saying, like, hey, you know, it's for kids, it's not what I grew up with. If today's kids like this and they learn to love Thomas and love trains and steam engines because of that, that's fine, even though it's not what I grew up with. And I think a lot of older fans of Thomas had a hard time accepting that. I fully accepted it and walked away from Thomas. But this new stuff, the reason I'm making a half-hour, it looks about a half-hour YouTube video about it, is because it's a version of Thomas that isn't about trains and isn't about the characters. And even if it is a successful show, it's not gonna... No one, like, when I watched Thomas, the Tank Engine, as a kid, and read the books, it made me want to learn about real trains and real steam engines. It made me want to go to real places that were featured in Thomas, like the Bluebell Rally in England. And Modern Thomas, and especially the new version that's starting in October, is not I don't think that's going to inspire kids to love trains that didn't already love trains, and it's not going to inspire... I know at least, like me, and the Unlucky Tug, who is pretty much probably one of the biggest Thomas creators on YouTube. He also went to he's an American creator. He also went to the Bluebell Rally in England. And I don't think the Modern Thomas is going to inspire kids to actually go to real steam railways. You know, like... and want to learn more about real steam trains. That's how I felt with the change in Chuck E. Cheese's. In the 80s, it felt like a... Hold on. We're gonna die! We're gonna die. Yeah, we died. That's how I felt with the change in Chuck E. Cheese's. In the 80s, it was a darkly lit place that felt more like a theater. In the 90s, they brightened it up and Barneyized it. It's kind of funny, like... well, I know, you're a little older than... Like... I remember... The first time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, I must have been 4 or maybe 5. And Chuck E. Cheese, like, at the time there weren't any Chuck E. Cheese in my area. I still lived in New York City at this point. So I went to a family member's house in a different state, and I heard there was Chuck E. Cheese near there. And the ironic thing is, how I earned... Okay, so it just goes into this. So we're going to start... So we're going to play... Yeah, let's start from... Let's start from 0. Yeah, so Chuck E. Cheese was something I heard of, but I never saw. And now, ironically, how I earned going to Chuck E. Cheese the first time. And it's kind of funny looking back on it. When I'm like 4 or 5, I obviously can't think this deeply into it. But, you know, I was rewarded for good behavior for going to Chuck E. Cheese. The good behavior was that I had to finish my entire plate of food. And so I remember, like, really struggling to finish all the food. And it's kind of a thing... And mind you, this is my grandparents back in the early 90s. These are like some old school grandparents where like eating or finishing a plate of food is like a huge thing, and feeding a kid and lavishing over a kid and giving them excess food is kind of, especially if they grew up during the Depression where they might not have had a lot of food growing up, where kids are lavished over and giving them a big plate of food is like a huge, you know, honor and act of love. So, like, giving a little kid, like, a plate that was maybe a little bigger than it could have been and had been a reasonable serving. And then, so I remember, like, struggling to finish it all. And so, like, not finishing the food was, like, I wouldn't have been punished, but it would have been like, oh, you finished the whole plate of food. You're a clean plater. And I got rewarded with a trip to Chuck E. Cheese, which is like a pizza parlor with an arcade. Yeah, I mean, it was a few hours later, so I had time. And when you're a kid, you know, kids will burn through that food. You know, they're growing and they're running around being crazy. So I did have pizza when I got there. It's kind of, and plus it might have been a cool tactic so that I'm full, so I don't have to eat too much pizza when I get there. That might have been a part of it as well. You're making an effort to use the NES and Super NES games on the Switch more. I've nearly finished with Picross and I'm on your way through Ghouls and Ghosts. You know, it's funny. I really don't play games that are not on stream, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I've had this emulation handheld for more than a year. This is the new Pocket Go. I've had it for over a year, and I just couldn't get I had power supply problems with the battery. I finally got the battery to work, so the device works now. I just have to actually put a bunch of games on there, and it also plays videos and MP3s. And I would like an MP3 player other than my iPhone, because, I mean, it's not easy to just drag and drop MP3 files as you please on an iPhone. It would be easier with an Android phone, but I just have an iPhone because, you know, it was a hand-me-down. So, just have a music player other than an iPhone that I could easily drag and drop music off of with an SD card, and I could also put videos on there. So I could put a lot of my favorite comfort videos and my favorite comfort games, like Tetris Attack, on there. And so I don't play video games on the go like I used to, but there's the idea of having a little dedicated handheld gaming device that can also put all my comfort videos and comfort music on is a really nice idea. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a regional thing or if it's just a thing that my family did, but yeah, like, oh, you finished all your food, you're a clean plater. And they're actually videos, well, they're photos of me on there's a little tiny one kid Ferris wheel inside Chuck E. Cheese. And it was clearly one of the Chuck E. Cheeses that used to be a Showbiz Pizza that rebranded. Because, like, Chuck E. Cheese failed, and they got bought out by Showbiz Pizza. But I guess Showbiz Pizza decided that even though Chuck E. Cheese failed as a company, that Chuck E. Cheese had better brand recognition than them, so they rebranded Showbiz Pizza as Chuck E. Cheese. And so, like, a lot of the machines still say Showbiz Pizza on it. And I also have a photograph of my brother and my father playing on a Versus Super Mario Brothers cabinet together. I think it's Versus Super Mario Brothers, but it was definitely some kind of Nintendo Versus System. It was definitely a Nintendo Versus System cabinet, and probably was Super Mario Brothers Versus was in there. So it's interesting because there are not a lot of photographs of those arcade units in service at the time, and they are kind of very, very uncommon in the arcade preservation scene these days. You know, don't see Nintendo Versus System cabs out in the wild, typically. So it's interesting having a photo of that. You know, my grandmother or whoever just happened to take a photo of something that nowadays is, you know, you don't have a lot of period photos of those machines in use. So in 9 minutes, we'll switch over to a different mode, probably story mode. We'll have to fumble around to see if we can find the story mode, because I don't know, you know, I can't read Japanese, and the whole game's in Japanese. And so if we do find the story mode, we won't be able to appreciate what the story is actually about. And, just drop the switch. Yeah. And there. No, not quite. Yeah, and I mean, this is going so slow. I'm using, like, the R trigger does advance the stack automatically. So I'm using that a lot to make up for the slow speed. And there you go. Flip that. And I love this game, but I am not a super player at it. If you want to see a super player at this game, you need to You need to see my mom play. My dad played too, but my mom was like, the version she played was Pokemon Puzzle League. And, you know, she is one of those ultra-casual gamers, and she's still, like, I have this photograph I took last time I visited my mom's house. She has, like, a box of all her Nintendo DS games, because we both got it, me and my mom, we got our DS Lite systems together from Nintendo World the night the DS Lite launched. It was a midnight launch. Like, DS Lite and New Super Mario Bros. Came out the same day in the US. Oh, you're not even close to Picross? I can tell you some stories about Picross. They're not happy, unfortunately, because my, in one of my years of elementary school, my teacher, like, discovered Picross and thought it would be cool, like, a cool, like, math assignment. So she'd give us Picross puzzles to do, and you had to finish them, and it counted as a math assignment. So if you didn't finish the Picross puzzle, you had to stay in detention during recess. And I wasn't good at them, and I have dysgraphia, which is primarily it's a fine motor disability. Primarily, the main way it manifests is a fine motor issue, especially in relation. It manifests basically in terms of handwriting. Outside of a classroom setting, it really doesn't affect me much, but in a classroom setting, especially in the early 90s, it was definitely a big thing. You know, I was receiving this isn't something like, oh, like I thought I had dysgraphia or my parents theorized it. I was formally diagnosed in a university hospital setting with professionals and stuff like that. And I'm also was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at the same time. Well, I was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is now just lumped in with autism spectrum disorder. But apparently the thing is, what I've heard from a lot of professionals, both back then and nowadays, now that I'm an adult talking to people about this, that are professionals, that apparently dysgraphia often coincides with extreme difficulty in math, where the student has trouble functioning in a normal math class environment, where it's not an issue of merely being able to, oh, I just have to study more or memorize more or practice math more. It's just a matter of just being able to function in the environment, which was a big deal for me, especially in college, and delayed my college career by many years, and it made it a lot more expensive, which is another story. But basically, even though I was receiving therapy and was receiving disability stuff, I guess, which was actually pretty progressive and sophisticated for the time, and especially in the early 90s, but at the same time, there was treating, like, the math element of it, I guess, as though, well, even though I was receiving help for math as part of my disability's individual education plan, they were also treating my inability to finish the math assignments on time as though it was a matter of me misbehaving or goofing off during class, therefore not getting my assignment done in time. So basically, I spent the entirety of, I guess, 3rd grade constantly in detention during recess, being forced to do Picross puzzles that I wasn't able to finish, and it was dragging down my report card because of it. So because my report card got dragged down, I'd get in trouble at home, which was a lot of fun. So I was getting in trouble. I was in detention all throughout recess, like basically most of it, like 80% of my recesses were sent in detention in 3rd grade, and I was getting in trouble at home for not finishing assignments, all because of Picross. So when I found out there was a Game Boy game called Mario's Picross, and I'm like, why would you make a Mario video game about Picross? That's like worse than Mario Teaches Typing. It's like Mario Spelling Bee, like equivalent to me. It's like why would you make a Mario game out of something that's so not fun? So I have a huge grudge against Picross games because of that, and that's that whole story was just talking about why I was never into Picross as a kid. Yeah, but I'm glad, Mecha Kong, that you can enjoy Picross, especially the Super Nintendo version, because I believe, for whatever reason, they never released the Super Nintendo version of Mario's Picross in North America. They just released it on Game Boy, which is actually probably not a bad business decision, because people forget Nintendo was successfully marketing the Game Boy to adult business professionals who had commutes to work or had to spend a lot of time on airplanes or in waiting rooms. So for stuff like Tetris and puzzle games and, there we go. No. Oh, I ruined my combo. There we go. There we go. We got a few more seconds there. And we... Okay. Okay. We got that stop meter to... Alright. We salvaged that one. Just looking for more... I mean, when I'm actually just restacking blocks, then you know it's kind of desperate. Alright. Let's see how long we can keep this moving. Yeah... No, wasn't able to... And... Alright. We're gonna play this until... We're down to 1 minute on the time. 1 minute, or until the hour left for this portion of the stream. So, when we hit... It just occurred to me. Am I streaming under Retro? I should be streaming under Retro now. Okay, I am streaming under Retro. Good. Because if I was streaming under Watch Party... Because I think when I did the test stream, I streamed it under Watch Party. Yeah, I did. I tried to do my... I did my watch party, I did my test stream last night when most of the people I know, or that I know me, were streaming them, that are streamers, or streaming themselves. So I'm like, oh, if I do my test test broadcast for the watch party now, I won't have to worry about any people actually walking in that I know. But it turns out Tundex was around, and so he was able to help me conduct the test, tell me what it looked like on his end, figuring out how it worked. So it was a good thing that I already deleted the tests are, there's nothing really to look at. I do go on mic, but in terms of the visuals, it's just my test pattern screen. And if you don't know, I just pull it up if you haven't seen it before. Where's the... Yeah, I have this test pattern, which I mainly use just for testing frame rate stuff, especially earlier on when I was having a lot of frame rate problems with my stream. But we'll just go back to the game and finish this off. Oh yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, my mom, me and my mom, we were both at the Nintendo World Store in late May 2006 or early June 2006 for the Nintendo DS Lite launch. We both got our systems at the same time. It launched the same day as New Super Mario Bros. And DS Lite and New Super Mario Bros. Together kind of felt like a relaunch of the Nintendo DS in general. Like, the original model DS was kind of a trial run, and once it passed the trial, they sort of relaunched it with the DS Lite and New Super Mario Bros. And I took a picture of this little basket she has, and because this was still, I think she had a BlackBerry at the time. And so, like, iPhone was out, and so all the other phone manufacturers trying to make an equivalent or something to compete with it. And this was also before the iPhone had its app store, so it was a very different... imitating the iPhone was a very different thing to do earlier on than it would be later on. So I think she had either a flip phone or a BlackBerry. And so, for casual games, she got a Nintendo DS, and her Nintendo DS collection is like the ultimate, like, ultra casual DS collection. It has like Brain Age, the Nintendo standalone Sudoku game, and Brain Age itself already has Sudoku mode. And then they added, they had a standalone Sudoku cartridge. Then had the Nintendo published 100 Classic Books DS cartridge that had a bunch of ebooks on it. It basically turned your DS into an ebook reader with a bunch of public domain books on it. Making it one of the few Nintendo games post-94. Actually, I think the only Nintendo DS retail release post-94 not to feature an ESRB rating, but because there was no game element, they didn't rate it as ESRB rated. And plus, because of the nature of some of the public domain books, if it was ESRB rated, it potentially, I believe, could have ended up getting a T or M rating. But yeah, she has Brain Age, Brain Age 2, Sudoku, 1000 Classic Books, Big Brain Academy, and Tetris DS. And me and my mom used to, like, when we would go, like, out to a restaurant or something together, and while we're waiting for our food, we'd play Tetris DS together on our DS Lites. And this was, like, in an age before... It was, like, after the early 90s when a lot of, like, adult professionals were running around with Game Boys on airplanes and stuff like that. But it was before the smartphone era. So it looked kind of... Well, not in New York City so much... Because, you know, in New York City, people just do whatever the heck they want. You see a lot of, you know, people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, like, with handheld systems. Handheld, like, dedicated game devices. But it just was odd or unusual in general, I guess, to see, like, I guess someone my mom's age using an electronic device in public that wasn't, like, a flip phone. And I say odd only in the context of people who weren't in New York City, because we were in the New York City metropolitan area, so they're, like, people... It's not, I guess, as... I don't know if it was taboo, or just seen as weird, or whatever. It was a different time, and it's just sort of interesting. But yeah, she has that little lot, and a nice little, like, wood-framed box. So as soon as this... We've been playing 16 minutes. We're going to make this game last as long as we can. And when we game over, which I'm not going to do on purpose. I'm going to do everything I can to make this last. So let's see if we can get 9,000 points. Insert Dragon Ball Z meme reference there. I kind of already did it for you. But if you'd like to make the over 9,000 joke, feel free to do so. And... yeah, for the next, the Sunday stream, I'm probably only going to play Versus Pinball for about an hour. And I'm not going back to this I'll be going back to this in the future. And I especially love to go to Pokemon Puzzle League, because, I don't know, Pokemon, this is already a comfy, cutesy game, but adding to this, the whole, like, comfy nature of all the Pokemon motifs, the web quality MIDI music of the comfy, nostalgic, you know, Pokemania era tracks that are in Pokemon Puzzle League, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with Pokemon Puzzle League. And it's interesting, with Pokemon Puzzle League, you kind of have this thing where, like with Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and Puzzle League, well, in both cases, they took a Japanese puzzle game, they added a motif, they turned them into mainstream, like, franchises that were popular in Japan, but were very popular in Europe and North America as well, so in the Western world. So they took, like, Puyo Puyo. They took Puyo Puyo, and with Puzzle League and with Pokemon Puzzle League and Puyo Puyo, they took Panel de Pon and Puyo Puyo respectively, applied the Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario franchises to those games to localize them into a Western release that tied in with Sonic and Pokemon respectively, instead of their own unique, like, things that they were in Japan. But then tied them in specifically with the Western with the cartoon adaptations of those games. So, like, when you have Puyo Puyo, they turned that into Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, a Sonic tie-in, but it was specifically not just Sonic the Hedgehog, but the Sonic the Hedgehog animated series, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and with those games being, like... Oh, and we are done. Wow, we got to 10,000. I was trying to get over 9,000. We got to over 10,000. So that is definitely a high score. Man, they don't even make this game over feel like you failed. Like with Tetris on Game Boy, when you fail infinite mode, it's like da na 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 na, like wah wah wah, or you failed, something bad happened. Why? This is so weird. Why is it it stops here? Like I beat the game. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to... Yeah, I'm just gonna have to reset the game, which is odd. Okay, so... let's see whatever... Let's... I think that's... What is this? I think... Alright, so this is the story mode, I think. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to leave the timer on for my own purposes. I'm going to turn off the timer. I'm going to turn off the... Let's turn off that. Gonna scroll this on over. And we're gonna play story mode until I lose. Once I take a L, even if I take an L, or if the full 51 minutes passes, until whichever comes first happens, and then I'm gonna take a break to get up and stretch, and refill my water and stuff like that, and take a bathroom break, because I can't pause the video even for myself. And then we'll move on to the watch party section of the stream. So let's go. Yeah. Yeah, so... I don't know if this will be like the story mode in Pokemon Puzzle League, where occasionally you'll get garbage from a second player, but it's a second player that you don't actually see. Oh, I should have waited. I could have got a good combo there. Alright. Okay, so... okay, so this is going to be a line clear thing, so hard, hard, hard. Okay, that did not... I was trying to actually set up something complicated. It did not go the way I hoped. So this is just a line clear mode. This Pokemon Puzzle League also had 2 line clear modes. Two story modes, I guess you could say. There was the first story mode. There was one story mode that was the line clear mode, where the concept was that you were fighting against Jesse, James, and Meowth from Team Rocket. And there was a second story mode, which is more of a literal story mode, where you face the gym leaders and Gary and other characters one at a time until you fight until you face what's called the Puzzle Master. It's kind of weird in Pokemon Puzzle League how you can see they're really struggling to even validate what a Pokemon puzzle battle is supposed to be. They're just like, oh, Ash, and that's the funny thing about Pokemon Puzzle League is that they use the anime, and you hear they use the voice actors from the anime, and it's like, oh, Ash, you know, a new type of Pokemon battle has been created. You should get involved, you know. And it's like, oh, and as Ash goes to try out this new type of Pokemon battle. But like, what in the context of the game world are they actually supposed to be doing? I have no idea. All right, I believe, you know what? I think... Alright, I see what's going on. So we're gonna keep playing this mode. I think the actual plot elements related mode, I guess was the second one that I passed over. So this is just line clear mode. So our goal here is to just keep playing until we could get all the blocks below a certain line. It's gonna get harder with each stage. Whereas I remember in Tetris Attack, which I only played via PC emulation back in like 2003, 4, maybe 3 or 4, 5 of the latest. Yeah, that has a mode where Yoshi keeps encountering different characters and there's some kind of plot going on. I'm guessing there's a mode like this as well in this game. But but we're not going to see it today because we're already locked into the timeline where we're doing the line clear mode. Yeah, I was actually trying to go for the story mode, not that we would have been able to read the story anyway. And, okay, we're going to drop there. Yeah, okay, I'm going to set a weird rule for myself. I'm not going to clear the line by deliberately just, like, shuffling blocks to, like, get everything below the line. What I'm gonna try to do is make the blocks fall deliberately by by clearing blocks beneath them. Restart. Oh, okay. Restart the software. That's cool. There was a code in the game, and it says restart the software to use this data, like that code. So I guess the game actually does require you to restart stuff. It's cool that they kind of use the alerts for Nintendo Switch Online and sort of contextualize or explain elements of the original game that don't quite make as much sense in the context of... Now, I wonder, it said it gave me a password to continue. I wonder if... I have no idea if... did Tetris Attack... Did anyone's remember, did Tetris Attack use... use passwords to continue on story mode or line clear mode? Because I don't remember ever being given passwords with Tetris Attack. I remember that seems like you would just save to the whatever progress in the line clear or story mode would just be saved to the cartridge. Yeah, this is pretty fun. Though I didn't think the language barrier would really be much of a problem. I guess the main concern I had was just being able to... I mean, I knew there was going to be no way the story mode is going to be perceptible, but I guess it was just a matter of making sure I could even operate the game enough to do what I wanted. Like, for instance, here, I really did intend specifically to be going into the story, I guess what you might consider the proper story mode, if that even exists in this game. Instead, I ended up going into line clear mode, which I don't remember ever playing line clear mode in Tetris Attack, but I know for sure, I would expect that there was line clear mode just because there was one in Pokemon Puzzle League. Of all the versions of this game, Pokemon Puzzle League is probably the version I have the most experience with. Though it really didn't become a serious favorite of all time of mine until playing it on the Wii Virtual Console one weekend. It's actually the same weekend. It was like the week that they announced the Nintendo DS. No, it's the week they announced the Nintendo 3DS XL. And I was sick those few days, and I remember just being in bed with a fever and wanting to play. For some reason, I really wanted to play Pokemon Puzzle League, but my controller didn't work, so my dad had to go to Best Buy to get he tried to find a Wii Classic controller, which is what I had, the white one, the white Wii Classic controller that looks like a Super Nintendo gamepad, and instead he got me the one that looks a lot more like Super Nintendo. Yeah, the one that it looks like a Super Nintendo game. Oh, I didn't even realize, it didn't even occur to me that I was at the end of the stage. Yeah, looks like the Super Nintendo controller with handles added to it. Oh, we're starting higher and higher. Can I set up something with these hearts? Nope. Well, not. I can't because a heart snuck up under the hearts that I was thinking like, can I do something with these hearts? No, because another heart's going to sneak up under them and clear them before I could work out something. Now, I wonder, like, in Pokemon Puzzle League, there was a mode where they would put up, like, a prearranged section of blocks. And you had to clear all the blocks in a certain number of moves. It was more of a literal puzzle mode. And I wonder if that's something that is featured in this game. Like, I guess puzzle mode, where you actually have to clear it. And in one game, I mean, my mom used to play it a lot on Game Boy. Yoshi for Game Boy. And I went through a Yoshi phase when I was a kid. So I'd play anything that had Yoshi in it, no matter what it was about or what kind of genre or anything. Like if there was like I almost said if there was a Yoshi tax prep game, like I probably would have got it as a kid when I was going through my Yoshi phase. But then I remembered, I laughed just at the thought of it, because I was thinking of that just earnestly, just trying to think of something boring like tax prep. Oh yeah, I'd play Yoshi tax prep software. But then I remember the whole, like, Yoshi committed tax fraud meme. It kind of took on a new meaning. Now, let's see, can I... Oh, I was trying to do a thing, but another block got in the way that I didn't consider, and cleared the blocks that I was going to be trying to work with. Yeah. Oh. Goodness gracious. Round clear. Hey, we cleared round 1. Now on to some of these other characters. So I guess we're gonna get new music, or new music and new backdrop. She's on this giant bird that looks really sleepy. I have no idea what you're saying. I hope it's not The Secret of Life. Speaking of the secret of life, or the meaning of life, I just want you to know, I did in fact come prepared. Actually, I'm gonna just throw that over my shoulder. And yes, when I go grocery shopping later, I am taking that with me. Look at that bird in the upper left. It looks like he got hit in the head with a hammer. Or something. I think this is the first music other than that one track that we've heard since we started playing. Yeah, I actually get to hear different, like, little exclamations and cries and stuff, not just this. Actually, I don't even remember if the last girl even had any exclamations or cries or anything. There we go. Yeah, so I can see it's very easy to see how someone could look at all these cutesy aesthetics and aesthetic elements and think, hey, you know what? Let's put Yoshi in this. We want to localize this. There's this weird little fairy girls motif in this game. I don't think it's going to go well in the West. Let's use Yoshi. That's cutesy, but it also ties with Mario, so maybe more boys will play it. And we'll call it Tetris, because, I mean, there's that quote about the original Game Boy, about, like, whether to pack it in with Super Mario Land or with Tetris. And I think the quote, someone within Nintendo was saying, if you package the Game Boy with Super Mario Land, small boys will, small boys will play it, like little boys. Yeah, if you package Game Boy with Tetris, little boys will buy Game Boy. I mean, I have to clear this. It's a little bit of a complicated quote. Not really complicated, I'm just, if you can't tell, maybe a tad tired. But if you package the Game Boy with with Super Mario Land, little boys will want it. If you package the Game Boy with Tetris, everyone will buy it. And that turned out to be the exact truth. Because the more obvious pack-in for Game Boy would have probably been Super Mario Land. It was real kind. I mean, you could say that packaging Tetris with Game Boy and marketing the Game Boy towards older professionals at a time when video games still had a big stigma about them as being like just a kid's toy, it was kind of a bold move, and it probably worked out for them. It's probably the mindset that ended up leading to things like the Wii, which some would argue was a bad thing. I think it's mostly a good thing because they mostly moved on from that. I think the parts of the Wii that they needed to move on from, they've moved on from in the ways that I would say they needed to. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to say. Not that I would love it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but basically, just the idea that just trying to make a game that appeals to everyone, but also isn't. I guess you could try to make a game that appeals to everyone. Yeah. Well, for my plans for E3, I don't know when or if I'll be moving. That's why I said the last scheduled stream. If I become to be aware that I will be in a where I'm still living, or that I'll be where I'm at and it'll still be stable, and I'll still be available, I will stream for E3. At least I will stream at the very least for Nintendo. If I'm available to stream for Nintendo's, I will stream for Nintendo's E3, because I made sure I don't have to, I made sure like a while ago that, okay, no appointments, no Zoom or anything like that will have to be going on during E3. But that was before I was realized I might be moving after all, because there was, well, I thought I'd be moving, then I wasn't, and now I might be moving again for completely different reasons and purposes to a completely different place that when I was planning to move, which is something I know I've been talking about for a while anyway. So because of that, if I'm still around here, if I'm still where I'm at now, I'll definitely be available for E3. If I am not available, or if I moved, then I will stream for E3 if I can, even if it has to be a mic-only reaction or something like that. But right now, I can't affirm that I'm going to be streaming for E3. I know I definitely want to, and if I'm able to, I will do so. But there's a very real chance that even if I move, I may not be able to stream during E3. There we go. And there we go. And yeah, we cut it close with that one. I guess 13 minutes in all is like the totality of this level and not just the stage. Because overall we've been playing for 38. Yeah, overall we've been playing it for about an hour and 30 minutes, because we're nearly down to, we've been playing for nearly 90 minutes already, wow. Because we're only 4 minutes away from there being a half hour left, and I started the clock when I started playing the game at 2 hours in. So that first hour, yeah, it's just pretty quick. Let's see if we can salvage this. Alright, let's see how far we can get. Alright, we got more. Nice, nice. Yeah, I was close. I think I was literally maybe a frame away from game overing there, and now it looks like we're gonna beat the stage. And either a half hour from now or whenever I get a game over in this, that's the point at which we'll be moving on to the watch party part of the stream. Actually, just like a little 10-minute, well, 7-minute break. Because I'm not gonna be playing for another 2 to 4 hours. The movie's only like an hour and 10 or 20 minutes, and at that point I'll be calling the stream. So I really I know what I said earlier, but I do actually I can't. Oh, okay. I got the blocks under the line by making combos, just not in the way I planned to. Yeah, I'm gonna put the towel down. Sorry, towel enthusiasts. But happy Towel Day nonetheless. Also, happy crushing a hard disk drive with a steamroller day. Yes, a real steamroller powered by real steam. That's the only. I think that was specifically outlined in those instructions. For those who know what I'm talking about. But. Go to Bubble Tea Shop. New Bubble Tea Shop yesterday. They had a large poster on the window for Biscoff cookie shake. Oh, awesome! I'm sure it was delicious. I never had a Biscoff cookie shake before. The only thing I've really had those types of cookies in. There's a waffle at a place called Waffles and Dingus. It's a chain of stands and restaurants and sometimes carts in New York City. The one I always go to. Well, there's one on Herald Square right next to the Macy's. And then there was one in Bryant Park. And often when I go into Manhattan on the LIRR, I'd come out of Penn Station, right by. Oh, I could have gotten. I mean, right by Penn Station, I could have got one right at Herald Square. But usually I'd walk down to. Bryant Park. Come on, one more stage, one more victory today. I'm sure the next level I'm going to end up bombing out, but if you can get at least one more today, that would be cool. Yeah! I saw that combo and I made the move with like 1 frame to spare. And boom. Yeah. Got that combo in. No, I bombed that. So I'm gonna have to win the bootleg way by just shoveling box over. Yeah. And I did that by making a combo, which I feel is a more like honest way to win, kind of. Yeah, Waffles and Dingus. The creator of Waffles and Dingus is like a waffle cook from Belgium. Or waffle chef, rather. And he did Bobby Flay, the celebrity chef. He would go to people who specialized in cooking a certain food. Like fried chicken, or Belgian waffles, or all kinds of other stuff. And he'd try to make... He'd challenge them to what he called a showdown. The show was called Showdown with Bobby Flay. Where... he'd have a bunch of, like, culinary judges. He'd make his own, like, sort of for the Belgian waffle episode. He challenged the guy who invented waffles and dinges. He made... They both had to make the best Belgian waffle possible and have some judges, culinary judges, examine them both. And the Waffles and Dingus guy, he made a waffle with... like chocolate and a spread, basically a spread made from Speculoos cookies, which are what Biscoff is, and he actually won that episode of the show with that waffle that the recipe made just for that show and doing that challenge. So in honor of that, there's a waffle you could order called the Throwdown Waffle, which is the one that he made for that show. for that episode of the show. And that's the only kind of cooking I've ever had with Speculoos cookies or Biscoff that is, you know, other than just eating them raw or dipping them in something. So I never had like a Biscoff shake. That sounds delicious. Not at all good for my teeth, but delicious nonetheless. Wow, we're gonna beat another level. I thought... I was kind of... I don't know if you could tell. I don't know how well of a secret I've kept it. But I was up late last night. I'm having fun doing this stream. But this game is so chill. And the atmosphere is so relaxed and everything. I have nearly nodded off on stream a couple of times. I'll be honest. This game is almost too chill. It's a little too comfy. So I'll have to get up and do some exercises while we get ready for the watch party section of the stream. Alright. Wow, we got up to round 3 with this girl. I don't know what she's saying, but... There's a bird pulling her hair. That doesn't look comfy. There's a squirrel on her head. Look at the squirrels looking at the camera. They're like, meep, meep. That's cute. Oh, look at all these squirrels. Oh no, it's more sleepy music. Oh man, this game is max comfy. And just when you thought the Yoshi's Island motifs couldn't get more comfy and cutesy. Oh boy. Alright. For those, I see I have a number of viewers right now. For full disclosure, what's going on right now? We're playing line clear mode on Panel de Pon. I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch through the Super Nintendo app on Nintendo Switch Online. Whenever, either in 25 minutes, because I have a timer. Usually I keep the timer off screen, but on screen, but I have it off screen right now. Either when the timer hits 0, or when you used to go out to the pub with friends, you make it... I know, like, you make it... when you say it that way, you make it sound like you're from Great Britain instead of Canada. But I know Canada was a ward of the British Empire. It was a British colony for much longer, and still is part of the British Commonwealth. So I guess a lot more of the language and culture probably is been infused. I mean... and the British monarch's mug is on your money, so... But anyway, when you used to go out to the pub with friends, this is the game you played a lot at your place and just talked while after playing it? Yeah, I can see this. I've heard this being... Like, a lot of these competitive or puzzle games are really competitive, but this game is, like, really... For such a game with so much at stake, this is a very comfy sort of game. But what's going on is... Either when I take an L or in 25 minutes, whichever comes first. Which I am gonna prolong this gameplay as long as I possibly can, though. We're gonna be doing an Amazon Prime watch party of Bon Voyage. No, not Bon Voyage. Of Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. I know. Anyone who has Amazon Prime in North America, rather in the United States, will be able to see it. I don't know about other countries. I know if you're in Canada, you're gonna have to maybe get your own copy and try to sync it up as best you can with us. But I know Kalaka Boy, who's in chat, he'll be watching it with us. So and if you're in the United States, even just like I just have the trial of Amazon Prime Video, even the trial will work for the watch party. I'll be starting it. It's not something where I'm asking you to go on Amazon Prime and sync it up with me. It's a feature of Twitch. So when I hit this button, the movie is going to start automatically, and it'll be synced up for all of us within 6 or 7 seconds from what I've seen in my tests. Okay. For some reason, the chat kind of restarted. So I just had to double check and make sure the stream didn't hiccup or anything. The stream is extremely stable. I have had a couple of weird things with my internet lately. I didn't have any problems with my test broadcast, but earlier, just actually about an hour before I started the stream, I did have to unplug and replug back in my modem, so if the stream goes away, you check on twitter.com/STSH for updates, or via the About page on my Twitter account is also has a widget that shows my Twitter feed on it with any updates. If I'm gone for more than 15 minutes, you could assume the stream is canceled. But I should be back within 5 to 10 minutes max if I do have any hiccups. But the thing is, with the way the watch parties work, if I do get booted off and have to redo the stream, I'd have to restart the movie from scratch, which is annoying. So the gameplay is only going to last a little bit longer. And I do have to be... this is a very fast-paced game, even though it's very comfy and chill. And I don't want to wear out... My right hand just seems very susceptible to fatigue stuff, which generally isn't a problem, but for specific things, like using the Bombat's action commands in Paper Mario, and for playing games like this where I'm just jamming the A button a lot very quickly, more so than like Super Mario Brothers where I'd be holding Y and pressing B, and the games like this where I'm just jamming on the A button all the time, it is, I do feel the effects of the fatigue about a half hour, 40 minutes in. For most games, this isn't going to be a problem, I don't think. But so either 21 minutes from now, or when I take a loss, we're gonna switch over to the watch party portion of the stream. After I get up and stretch a bit, take a quick leak break, fill up my water, because once I start the watch party, I cannot pause the movie. It's not like something where, like, Watch Together for YouTube, where if someone pauses, it pauses for everyone, or other services where if the person hosting it pauses it, it pauses for everyone. With this, it is playing, once I start the watch party, it plays automatically on Amazon's end, and it plays in synchronization for everyone, regardless if those people pause or not. So if someone were to pause it, when they unpause it, it automatically syncs them back up to the universal video that we're all watching. So even I can't stop the video short of just ending the watch party entirely. Nice combo there. There we go. Got some nice chain reactions going. And I do... Oh, man. And I wonder what this is like playing it on Game Boy... yeah, there's a Game Boy version of Tetris Attack. I wonder what it's like playing that. Or if the Game Boy version of this is even themed around these little girls, or they try to theme it around Yoshi, or it's just they made it just a generic puzzle game with no real characters or lore attached to it. Because from what I could think... Actually, no. Come to now you think of it, the Game Boy version of Tetris Attack may be unthemed, and not have any sort of characters or particular motifs or themes attached to it. I don't know what the Game Boy version looks like, but I know the Game Boy version must have a real emphasis on the use of shapes, because with Game Boy you only have 4 shades of gray. Whereas, like, I could see a full range of colors. So my primary, I guess, distinguishing feature is the colors. And I wonder if they specifically thought of the shapes for, you know, colorblind people in mind, or just to make the blocks more attractive, and the benefit to those who can't see a full color range, it's just sort of coincidental benefit for them. Because I know with, like, I never saw it in action, but I know with games like Splatoon, there are accessibility settings where you could set things like for the ink to be textured in addition to the color, so that people who can't see a full color range could still tell their team's ink from the enemy's ink. We are going to bring this back. Yeah, it's funny. Technically they could have, like that move I just did. That was very obviously a combo. The move I did, the combo I got before this, they very easily logically could have not considered that a combo. So I'm glad the game's logic counted that as a combo, because it helped. Because we're at a point where we actually might get through the stage. I really didn't think I'd last this long, and it looks like at this rate that I'm gonna end up being able to... Now, I'm curious, should I make popcorn for the movie? I'm not sure. Nah, I won't do popcorn for the movie. I am hungry, but the movies... It's not like with like Paper Mario where I was streaming as long as it took to beat the game, or I'd be streaming for hours, didn't know how long it would take. With this, we know how long the movie is, and there we go. Yeah, we know how long the movie is. It's only going to be like an hour, 10 minutes, I think. And then I want to do the commentary on the movie, and it's harder to do the commentary when I have my mouth full of popcorn. Oh my god!